Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Big Ten 2024 predictions. It's been like a damn month since I made a video. I apologize about that, but we're less than a week away from college football, so I've got to absolutely dial in and start pumping out these videos. I had a Big Ten video already made. I just needed to edit it and stuff, and I never got around to doing that because I'm lazy. And ultimately, I watched it back today, and I was like, damn, I did ass. I disagree with stuff that I said in the video. Crazy. So I'm going to do it again, and hopefully I get it right for myself this time. But it's Big Ten time, so we've just got to find a Big Ten team over here. I might just be blind and can't see one. But if you want to make your own college football predictions for the season, Playoff Predictors is your place to go, dude. This website is awesome. Literally, they got like every game. Dude, where the hell is Big Ten? I see. All right, I guess I see Penn State. I don't want to start with Penn State. I want to do like Oregon. Okay, there we go. Yep, we'll do Oregon first, of course. I feel like this team is like the most questioned team this offseason. That and like Colorado and stuff, of course, but we could have expected that. I feel like this team really has all eyes on them right now because, they've got a lot of hype behind them. They're number 3 to start the year? And ultimately, they're moving from the Pac-12 into the Big Ten. Very highly offensive team moving into the Big Ten team. I'm sorry about these fucking ads, by the way. Like, just don't look over there. Like, they are such a pain in the ass. I can't get rid of them. But let's get on back to college football. Oregon, most questioned team. And I feel like for a good reason, like I said, offensive going into defensive conference, but they start off with 3 wins. No question. I'm sorry. They're not going into Oregon State and losing. That would be insane if they lost that. But I don't think Oregon State has what it takes. They had one good year, and then they kind of just struggled from that point on because of quarterback problems. And ultimately, I know this is getting a little bit sidetracked, but DJ Ugali Balls going to Florida State, and they're like, number 10 or something? That, I do not care. That team is not number 10. But this is about Oregon, and Oregon State lost their head coach, a quarterback, and plenty of other players. This team is not going to be that good. If they pull off the upset against Oregon, that would be bonkers. But it's just not going to happen against preseason number 3 in the country. And then they go on the road to UCLA. UCLA is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the conference, literally losing their head coach to Oregon as an offensive coordinator. UCLA is not winning this game. Don't care if it's a road game. They're beating Michigan State at home. And then the big one. So Oregon really gets like a ton of breathing room, a ton of time to just destroy teams, maybe get a big confidence boost before heading into the biggest game of the season. And they get the beauty of it being at Oregon. Like, Autzen Stadium is one of the hardest stadiums to play in. And, man, Ohio State, I know they're good, and they're ranked above Oregon. They are going to be 2 of the most skilled teams of the year. But this one's going to Oregon, man. You could see my mouse hovering over it the whole time. This one's going to Oregon. Ohio State's not going to be able to go into Oregon and win. And if they do, I'd be really, really surprised. But ultimately, college football home field advantage, I say it so much. College football home field advantage matters so much. I mean, there is a chance that Ohio State goes into Oregon and wins this game. It ultimately come into, or it only, God, can I speak? It ultimately come down to, I think, turnovers. If one team has a turnover problem, it's just going to go in the other team's favor instantly. But if these teams both play like their best football, I think it's going to Oregon just because they're going to have the aspect of momentum of their home field advantage. They're going to have that crowd on their side. Every time a good play happens, your fans go berserk. But every time a good play happens for Ohio State, it's just the sidelines. Oregon gets the whole they get the benefit of the whole stadium being on their side. And ultimately, that's what home field advantage is, and I think it's going to play into Oregon's favor. But now, dude, these Purdue games, man, I know Purdue's not going to be the best football team ever, but what? I don't know what time this game's at. If it's a night game, bro, I might click Purdue here. Now, when I made the first video, I didn't click Purdue. I didn't think about it, but let's see. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, it is on a Friday night at 5 p.m. No, I'm sorry. Fuck it for the video. Purdue is winning this football game. It is notorious. At this point, Oregon might be number 1 in the country. If not, they'll be number 2. Oregon traveling into Purdue in a night game in Boilermaker Stadium. Purdue's done it to Ohio State. They've done it to Michigan State, and they're going to write Oregon down in that book in their first season in. I don't care. I know Purdue is not as good of a football team as they were the previous years, but, man, these teams, they just, every team that isn't good still has that. They still have that power behind them, They still have the ability to play perfect football. And when one team plays perfect football and the other team plays shitty football, upsets happen. And that's exactly what happens on a night game in Boilermaker Stadium. 5 p.m. on a Friday night for Purdue. Dude, that place is going to be slammed. And Oregon's going to get slammed. Mark my words. You guys can come back and laugh at me when the day comes if they lose that game. But Oregon, beating Illinois week after, has to travel into the Big House. Now, the thing about this game is, well, the time is to be determined, but we can assume this is going to be a morning game. We can assume this is going to be pretty much 10 a.m. for Michigan. So they don't get that night advantage, but it's still Michigan Stadium, and I'm going to have to give it to Michigan. I think Oregon is going to be really good. Originally, I, of course, probably had this, but I don't like this Michigan team all that much, but I can't avoid the fact that their defense is that defense. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, Michigan's quarterback is, from what I've heard, pretty underrated. And their offense was really, really slow last year and running game focused. I mean, J.J. McCarthy barely threw the ball on that football team. They went the whole second half of the game against Penn State without throwing the football. And that was what led me to hating Michigan last year because it was very boring to watch them. But they won the damn Natty and didn't lose a game. And, I mean, they can ultimately fall into that place again this year. I just don't know if they have the same level of defense as last year. And ultimately, their offense, even though it wasn't really, the best offense in the world, it was just really running-based, it still has taken a step back. It's still very running-based. But Donovan Edwards, man, I mean, he played a role. Even though he was hurt for a decent bit of last season, he went into the Natty, man, and he was Donovan Edwards. He was Donovan Edwards the year before, and he's still here. He can fill the shoes of Blake Corum, and we know that. So this Michigan team isn't going to be all that bad. I just think they're going to lose a couple games this year. They got a new head coach and stuff. It's a new team. So there's still reason to question them. But, Oregon going into into Michigan Stadium with a pretty devastating loss against Purdue, going off of the idea that they lose this game to Purdue. I'm pretty certain they'll beat Ohio State, but they might turn around and just straight up throw it away against Purdue. Because, they get into this high point where they're like, all right, we did it. We took down the big dog. We got one more big dog to go, and then we're there. We just can't lose this one to Purdue, and that's when the fraudulency shows, even though they're not frauds. It's just Purdue at night. That's just what they do. But they lose to Michigan in the Big House, and they're a 2-loss team at this point. They beat them. this could be interesting. I wouldn't I would not doubt Wisconsin, even though they've been such a questionable team throughout the years. We always say Wisconsin's going to be like ranked and whatnot. But the difference about this year is this is the first year they are not ranked in the top 25 in the preseason. And that's when teams like to just decide to flip the script and be ranked and be good. But I think Oregon is going to have enough. This one could be closer than people like it to be, but Oregon takes a dub, and then they get to host their rival. I wouldn't count Washington out of this game. They did it a couple years ago. In like 2022, Washington came into Oregon and won, but that was a better Washington team than really anybody gives them credit for. Had they not lost to the Arizona State Sun Devils, they would have been a one-loss team because they didn't lose a game from that point on. But Oregon, 10-2. That might be a hot take, to be honest, but if you watch college football, you know Purdue is no easy game in the night. And I feel like people can respect the pick, even though it's Purdue and they're not going to be that good. Friday night, 5 p.m. in Boilermaker Stadium is no fucking joke, and Oregon is going to get hit with a blast of reality. IMO. Keep that in mind. Let's do Michigan next. Sure, let's go gambling. Michigan against Fresno State, there's no way they lose that. But against Texas, I know it's at Michigan, and it's going to be hard. And, Michigan's going to have that defense. But ultimately, Texas got arguably stronger from last year. They lost key receivers, but it's Texas recruiting. Texas recruiting, not only that, they still have Quinn Ewers, and that is such an important piece to this Texas offense. Ultimately, we didn't say Texas was going to go into Alabama and win. Barely anybody said it, and they did it by 10 points. And it was because of Texas's offense. It was because of their ability as an offensive team. Quinn Ewers was diming people up. And, they're probably going to get it done here against Michigan. I feel like people can respect this pick. But win there. Now this one. Washington is right outside of the top 25. And I just think that is super, super disrespectful to a team that made it to the Natty. I don't care because, of course, we know how much they lost. But when TCU lost 65-7 against Georgia, they lost a shitload as well. Their quarterback, their star receiver, running back, they lost, and plenty of more pieces, of course. They lost a lot. But they were still ranked number 17 the next season, and they were not the number 17 team next season. I think that Washington is taking that failure of a prediction on TCU, and they're reaping what is it called? They're getting hit with TCU's problem, their fault. I don't know how to fucking say that, but because they fucked up with TCU so bad, now they have to apply the knowledge that they fucked up last time. They won't do it again to Washington, and that's disrespectful. Jed Fish rebuilt Arizona into a very good football team last year. Now, I will say they were kind of overrated because they barely had any ranked teams on their schedule, and when they did have a ranked team on their schedule, they lost. But, Jed Fish still brought a shitload of talent to that team, and he took a lot of people from Arizona over to that Washington team. He just didn't bring his two most beneficial players to the team, but can't blame him. You can't blame the players for not going. And then he brought over the quarterback from, I believe, Mississippi State, who is actually pretty solid. And I just think Washington's going to be better than people are giving him credit for. I think they're just getting glossed over right now, just like Arizona was last year. I had Arizona going 9-3 last year too, because I knew they were going to be better. They put up a lot of competition the year before that, but also they had a very easy schedule, but they still fought very, very strong against literally teams like Washington and whatnot, and they beat Oklahoma. I think that Jedd Fisch just has the curse of being not paid attention to ever, and a curse or a gift, because that just allows Washington to strike harder. And I think Michigan is going to lose this game. Hot take? Hot take, anybody? Anybody like a hot take? People are probably not going to agree with this one. But, you know, there is no scheduled time for this game yet, but I think Washington wins this game. Win. Now the big one. So, see, I've already got Michigan as a 2-loss team here, right? I've already got them as a 2-loss team, and I think they're going to drop to a 3-loss team. So I still stick with my original prediction from last video where I'm just like, Michigan's overrated. They suck. They won't make the playoffs. They still won't make the playoffs. Just because, I mean, they have a loaded-ass schedule, dude. There's no time for a breather for this Michigan team. You got Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, who are all right up there in the top 5. As well as you have some tough road games. I mean, a tough road game. Even then, USC is a top 25 team that's going to have an insane offense, but no defense, but ultimately big house again. I think Michigan is probably going to miss out on the playoffs their year after a natty, and there's nothing wrong with that. They've got some time to build up a team again, but they lost a lot, and I think people can respect this. I think everybody except for Michigan fans can agree with this. Washington, boom, 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 boom. 4 home games to start the year, and I think they'll win all of them. However, on the road at Rutgers, that's going to be a stinger. That's going to cut them from going 6-0 and literally being ranked like number 5. But Rutgers, Friday, I don't know if that's correct, 5 p.m. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, it is true. 5 p.m. Rutgers. This Rutgers team has been building quite a football program. They've been looking better and better each year. And I think this Rutgers team is finally, after so many years, going to have a football team worthy of even just a ranking spot, but a solid bowl game. And they're going to start getting paid attention to. They'll turn around and win this game against Michigan, but then they'll lose on the road to Iowa to a solid defense. And ultimately, it's at Iowa, one of the hardest football stadiums to play in. Win on the road against Indiana. Win on a home game against USC. Lose on the road to Penn State. Win against UCLA. 8-4 for the Washington Huskies. Again, another team with a very hard schedule because they have Michigan, USC, Penn State, Oregon, even Rutgers on the road. That's loaded. That's a really hard fucking schedule. So I think 8-4 is still respectable for Washington in their first year in the Big Ten. And I think this is very realistic because of how glossed over they are being. Next up, I think we should do Purdue. Purdue, they got that game. What time is this? 12:30 p.m. That goes into night, but ultimately that goes into nighttime, but still to open up the year like that. Purdue's got a lot of happy home games, man. They've got a lot of happy home games, but when you hit the road against Oregon State, they're going to struggle immensely. I think this is just a bad stretch for Purdue. I think they might even lose this one against Illinois just because they're road games. I'll give this one to Purdue. I'll give this one to Illinois. Yeah, that one's tough, though. Because that's just two, pooper programs that, two pooper programs that just don't, the home field don't even matter because no one's there. Win, no, lose. All right, I'll switch this. Lose. Win. Yeah. This is where it gets difficult because, in the back of your head, you want to give every home game to Purdue. Yeah, you want to give every home game to Purdue. And they do have a lot of happy home games. And ultimately, what it takes for a Purdue team like this is one big win at home to completely switch the momentum of your team and hit a hot streak. But ultimately, that I think that'll occur already pretty far on the season. But, dude, I'm sorry. 5 p.m. at Boilermaker Stadium. First game against Purdue or against Oregon in conference play. You can cancel me if you want. It's just my opinion. I think they go 4-8. Rutgers win-win. Lose to Virginia Tech. I'll wait on this one. I'll wait to see how I feel. Win-win. Lose. Win-win-win. Win. Okay, lose. 9-3, I believe, is what I had for Rutgers. And ultimately, I say ultimately a lot. I'm sorry. But ultimately, they're just going to lose the hard road games. USC across the country to a loaded offense lose. A rising Nebraska team on the road lose. And an already pretty, I feel like this team should have been in the top 25. I don't think they are, but I think they should have definitely been in the top 25. A very solid Virginia Tech team. Let's actually check. Let's check and see where they are. Are they receiving votes? Yeah, they're next in line. They're pretty much number 27. They're right there, right outside of the top 25. They're going to be solid. But, yeah, it's a road game. Give me Virginia Tech. Rutgers 9-3. There's probably a lot of people that are, fuming at watching this video right now. But that's okay. They are going to get the fattest revenge on Colorado this year. Get 4 home games to start off the season. Win on the road against Purdue. Beat Rutgers. Beat a big game against Rutgers to start the year off 6-0 for the Cornhuskers. 7-0 for the Cornhuskers. But then, pretty much a notorious game to shut Nebraska the fuck up. They have to hit the road and play Ohio State. And that's going to be an ugly one. But then they get to turn around and beat UCLA. Then they lose to USC on the road because USC's better. Win in a home game against Wisconsin. And to finish off the year, a night game in Iowa, they lose. Still, massive turnaround season for the Cornhuskers. Going 9-3, at least in the regular season, a huge turnaround for the Cornhuskers. But they just, compared to what it could have been. Yeah, it's like Nebraska fans starting off 7-0 saying they're going to go to a natty before Ohio State bitch slaps them. And they end up going 9-3 to finish off the year. Iowa. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. You can cancel me if you want. It's just my opinion. I think Minnesota's not going to be absolutely awful. I feel like I'm glossing over them in my mind, but I don't think they're going to be absolutely terrible. Last year, they were just hideous to watch. But I think this year, they're going to be a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for. And they won last year in Iowa. Should have been Iowa's game, but they still won. Now they have to turn around and go home to Minnesota. Or Iowa's going to be ranked. I think the first home game of the year in conference for Minnesota. That might be a full stadium. That could very well be a full stadium. I'm pretty sure this is a rivalry. These teams cannot seem to stop duking it out. And, Minnesota might want some revenge from 2019. And I think Iowa is just, their offense is going to be hideous. And ultimately, that's what all these games are going to be. I think they're just going to be insanely defensive games with a lot of turnovers by the opposing team and not really so much Iowa, because that's going to be the one thing they want to avoid. But in a game like this, I think they're just going to Michigan State might play better. They just might have that momentum. They might score a punch against a solid Iowa defense, and that's all it's going to be to win 10-7. That's this. The final score of this game is going to be 3-5. The final score of this game is going to be 9-3. The final score of this game is going to be 7-4. They'll find a way to put up 4. It's just Iowa. It's Iowa football. They find a way to have good records with hideous teams. It's just rule of thumb down there. Let's see. I want to do Minnesota next. Minnesota. Win, win, win. Start off 4-0 with a ranked win against Iowa. Might get placed in the top 25. Actually, wait. No, I think I accidentally unselected a game. Wait. Where did Iowa State go? That was incorrect. That wasn't supposed to be unchecked. I already did that. Okay, I think that's what I have Iowa State anyways. Yeah, okay. Back to what I was saying. That tripped me out for a second. My fault. Yeah, 4-2. A ranked win against Iowa. But you're not winning in the big house. We'll wait on this one. Win on the road to UCLA. Win. Okay, we can say win here. But this is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 fat home games for Minnesota. First game against USC, a highly offensive team. I might have to go with USC. Let's just uncheck this real quick. So up until this game, they're 7-3. They might be hanging around in that ranked territory because of the 3 back-to-back-to-back wins. But then a loss against Rutgers. But there still might be a lot of... Yeah. I'm confident in saying that. I'm confident. This also, 2019... That's the only season I can think Minnesota was good in my time of watching college football. This is just how it seems to be. I like this. I like this for Minnesota. I was not big on Minnesota going into this year, but I realized I was wrong. I think this is good. You can cancel me if you want. It's just my opinion. Ohio State time. Win. Yeah. I got the Buckeyes going 11-1. I don't care if they're on the road against Penn State. Penn State just cannot compete against Ohio State or Michigan. They just can't fucking do it for the life of them. And that, I think, Oregon being what? A undefeated beating Ohio State, everybody's going to be like, this just determined who is going to be the college football playoff 1 seed for the Big Ten. And how wrong are they going to be because of the Boilermakers? Because of them. How about them Boilermakers? Am I right? Let's see. Who else can I do next? We can do USC. Against LSU, you're not winning that. Win. I'm going to have them winning this game because I think Notre Dame's overrated. Number 7 for Notre Dame. Like, who here actually agrees with that? Because I don't. I think everybody disagrees with that. Except for Notre Dame fans. But, I could just be tripping. I'll wait on this one for Penn State. All right, let's go ahead and flick over to Penn State. Can you believe I was going to start off with this team? Because I'm not big on Penn State this year. Yeah. I think it'll be poetic. I think it'll be poetic that the Big Ten or that the college football playoff expands to 12 teams and Penn State still finds a way to manage to not get in. I'm sorry, but last year I had a lot of hype in Penn State. I thought they were actually going to be one of the more solid teams last year. They failed me. They made me look stupid in some of my predictions because I had hype. I had faith in this team, and they failed me as well as they failed many college football fans out there, especially their own. And I think they're just going to continue to fail us as a pooper franchise, Without Saquon Barkley, they're nothing. Without Trace McSorley throwing it on the dime, they're nothing. And I didn't like what I saw from Drew Allen last year. I did not think he was the best quarterback ever. Times he shined were against teams that were not even close to the amount of skill that was on Penn State. And then when you matched up against a team with the same skill, you got swashbuckled by Ohio State and by Michigan. I think this one could be interesting just because, it's what time would it be at? Probably undetermined if it's at 4 a.m. But at USC. USC's got that offense. Penn State, this is a rematch of an insane Rose Bowl. I think USC's got the home field there. They're not going to have the home field against Penn State. I always try to give Penn State the home field advantage, but this is going to be a morning game. If it's not a night game, it's not a home field advantage game. But, maybe they will get a night game at, I think they determine it too early from that. But without the night and Mo Bamba playing, ain't happening. Ain't happening. Already did Purdue. Michigan State, this one's interesting. So, I'm going to have Boston College winning that one. This one is just going to be a pile of shit game. But when they're... All right, listen. 7-5. Can't go with 8-4. Can't go with 8-4 for Michigan State. But 7-5, this Oregon State quarterback or head coach that moved over to Michigan State, he did it with Oregon State, Oregon State was hideous for a long time. And he made them actually enjoyable and a fun team to watch. And he's proven that he could take a poop franchise to a good team. However, now you get a more notorious team. You get Michigan State, who has been very good at football for a long time until these most recent years. They're very good in basketball. They have a lot of fans. Big Ten, people would want to play for Michigan State more than they'd want to play for Oregon State. I think that'll probably show in their first year, and they are going to go 7-5, maybe lose a bowl game, which would be exactly how Oregon State started off with with this head coach. They went 7-6 in that first year, and then they went I think it was 2020 after that, and then 2021, they had a good year. So I think they'll follow in the same footsteps as this head coach. He'll just do what he knows how to do. Simply, Michigan State on the rise, hopefully. I think a lot of people here like Michigan State. I could be wrong, though. Win, win, lose. Lose. 4-8 for Wisconsin. Yikes. Yikes. They do have a really tough schedule, though, so, it's reasonable, right? Maybe I'll switch that. And, yeah. That sounds good. Actually, maybe I'll switch this one over to Wisconsin, just because 3 losses is too close for playoff range for Iowa, and there's just no way the college football gods would allow that team to get in there. So 6-6 for Wisconsin. It's just another year for Wisconsin. It's just another year. That's pretty much all that needs to be said. They do have a lot of happy home games this year. I say happy, but ultimately, it's against Alabama. This one could go in Wisconsin's favor, but I just think they'll probably choke, and then this one. So, yes, you get a lot of home games that are on your side, but they're against really, way higher skilled teams than Wisconsin. Just my opinion. Northwestern. I thought this team was going to be better, or I do think this team is going to be better. I think 7-5 is good for this team because they've got a nice, easy schedule to start the year off, except for that Washington game. But once you kind of get into it, it gets a bit more difficult for Northwestern, especially with this game, with these games down here, and even these games. But I still have Northwestern on the rise, going 7-5. Sorry, I'm starting to speed run just because I don't know too much about these teams. I just know what I saw last year in UCLA. Oh, we got Illinois down there, who's just looking hideous. This game got changed. So let's see. Who is this actually going to be? Who is this actually going to be? I don't know who they changed it to. Oh, wait. Or are they still doing it? Let me look it up real quick. But for now, 3-9, probably about right. Is the UCLA... Oh, my God. UCLA LSU game still happening? Why does it need my location for that? Uh, I guess it's still happening. I guess it's still happening. I thought it was going to change. I thought I saw something about it changing and they switched the opponents. Maybe that is the case and stuff just hasn't updated, but I guess we'll just go with the fact that they're still playing LSU. 39. UCLA's not going to be that good. And Illinois, man. Oh, where'd they go? 0-10, which means they're winning 2 games. Yeah, Illinois' fall off shouldn't be studied. It doesn't need to be studied. It's exactly how Illinois has been for as long as we can remember. They had that one good year, and then they fell apart. Maryland, no more faith for this team. You guys lost your quarterback. Dude, I'm taking Virginia there. 2-10. Oh, and then we got Indiana somewhere. Where is Indiana? 1-8. Win. 4-8 for Indiana, sure. This is just the same teams in the Big Ten as always, feeding these teams free wins. Feeding them free wins. 2-10 for Maryland. I mean, that's about right. Maryland's only been like sort of good recently, but throughout history, they've been horrible. And ultimately, losing your quarterback, I think Maryland's going to be a pile of horse shit. You can cancel me if you want. That's just my opinion. I believe that's all the Big Ten teams, though, now. Let me know what you think about your predictions in the comments. Don't be vicious. Let's just chat. We can talk it. We can talk this out. But yeah, give me your predictions for the Big Ten. Give me your hot takes. Who you think is actually going to be better than most people. Next, I'm going to do SEC. I'm going to do SEC and Notre Dame, I think. No, I'll do ACC and Notre Dame when I do the ACC video, just because they should be in the ACC. But, yep, that's all for this one. A like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. That's all for me. Adios.